Welcome back to the big ideas of the last session, which was harder than the Dickens in the standardized testing and the care that goes into making them. I want to start off because I was remiss last session to leave out what I overlooked in the favorite intervention discussion board. For some reason, I did not watch several videos. I have no idea. I thought I did everybody's and commented on them, but I didn't. One of which was Carrie's in my 64022 section on the growth mindset intervention. So I'm sharing in my the text version of my teaching memo. I have a link for her video, and I have a link for an Edutopia article that Dweck wrote in 2016. And Carrie posted those in response to a classmate. So that's good stuff. Growth mindset is very powerful, I believe. So I would look at those, both her video and the Dweck article in Edutopia. The Hard as Dickens discussion board is closed, and it always makes me a little sad because this gets my students to really examine the pros and cons of large-scale tests. It also ferrets out the differences between norm and criterion reference tests. Vocabulary in your own words, alert. Many people rail against norm reference tests like the SAT and the GRE, or even some of your teacher certification exams, which I just found out I'm supposed to take. So I'm familiar with it, and I can pass my familiarity on to you in my course. So I can't wait to do that. The norm reference tests are created to sort and separate it, much like the original IQ tests. People that use them, like college admissions officers, want to be able to distinguish between test takers to make their selection process easier. The good news is that many colleges are making these tests optional or aren't using them at all. Our state assessments, on the other hand, are criterion referenced and based on the standards. Theoretically, everyone could get all the questions correct. They are not made to create a spread, only to distinguish between those who know the material and those who don't. The big controversy about state tests is regarding how the state creates cut points. Who gets a 1, who gets 2, who gets 3, and who gets a 4 at each level. So it's done after the tests are completed. So a lot of people don't think that's quite correct. Me being one of them. Several of you read my short article, How Standard is Standardized Testing. In it, I described the effects of my friend, who is now my wife, and her efforts to accommodate her testing style, or her testing situation, according to her own learning style. The point I was trying to make is how far we have to take standardization, making sure everyone does it the same and tests in the same way. A few of you commented that students' teacher-made tests are better than large-scale tests because teachers can design their tests based on their students' abilities and learning styles. I believe this is a misconception because if you start changing your tests based on what you think your students know, you will be doing them a disservice. And you will never be able to answer one of the three big questions. Where am I going? Or where are they going? Where are they now? And how can I close the gap? Peter, in my 64021 section, also mentioned learning styles and how standardized tests run counter to best practices of quote-unquote discourse, reflection, and shared experience. Can we modify environmental preferences without damaging the overall integrity of the exam? Well, I believe, my wife and I both believe that if you are teaching according to those things that Peter just mentioned, or according to students' learning styles, then the type of exam shouldn't matter. That if it's aligned with the standards that you're teaching, the way you teach should have no effect on the test they take, whether it's a standardized test, an essay test, or even a computer-adapted test. Modifying the environmental preferences, I think, is a good idea. With the coming of computer-adaptive testing, which we may see the large-scale tests embedded in the curriculum, taken when students are ready. And to me, I think this is the way it should be. Already state ed is allowing everyone extra time to finish the assessment, so timeliness is being removed. So hopefully that will take some of the stress out of students taking these tests and teachers giving them. Finally, Michelle in 64020 made what I think is a very valid point. She claims that teachers asked more higher order thinking questions in her honors and AP courses than her regular classes, where they were just looking for proof of assignment completion. I tend to agree with that because sadly I think it's true. Several of you discussed how teachers should become involved in creating our state assessments. Now that Pearson is out of the picture, grades 3 through 8, Questar, in partnership with State Ed, is now soliciting teachers to become involved in all aspects of the test creation process, including item writing. So those of you who felt teachers should be more involved, got your wish, just click on the link in my the text version of my teaching memo if you are interested. Many of you interacted with Dr. Tom's thinking question. I tried to stimulate a reaction by saying that Wiggins blamed teachers for not designing higher order thinking questions. My wife, who is a school administrator, often sees her teachers struggle with asking higher order thinking questions in the classroom. I tend to agree with Jamie in section 640.22, who believes teachers just haven't been trained to do it. Vladislav, who is also in 640.22, is my radical anti-testing student this semester and has more references in his postings than I have in my entire course. But even he believes that teachers should be able to train their students to answer inference/higher order type questions. So I hope you found this DB worthwhile. I certainly felt it was, and I'm hoping to continue it. So that's it for the big ideas of session 5. I will be back with session 6 assignments.